and welcome to Love Always Self. I'm Karista.
And I'm Shyra.
And just really quickly, just wanted to give another shout out to Unfiltered Experience. Thank you so much for having us on your show. If you did not catch the live, please go back and check out Facebook's Unfiltered Experience to see our awesome conversation with Scott and Chris. And don't forget, if you have not checked out our website, you can find us at lovealwaysself.com.
Which we will have linked below.
Speaking of being so grateful for the conversation between Scott and Chris, we just really wanted to focus in today on expressing gratitude and how that contributes to creating our own positive outlook on life and how that impacts us, even at the cellular level where we aren't even necessarily aware.
Yeah. And, you know, I acknowledge that there are definitions in, per se, I don't know, you Google the word gratitude, or look at the definition of gratitude in, you know, Google or a dictionary or whatever, right? And they give you like the very simplified, man made version of what gratitude is. Um, they even acknowledge that there's stages of this where that's recognition, acknowledgement, and appreciation. I think there's like the three,
Yeah, and
stages of gratitude.
you just happened to Google this right before, and we hadn't really heard of the stages.
I was like, what?
Um, but I think that there's some validity behind there. Again, hadn't really thought about this as breaking it down into different steps, but it does take awareness, recognition of you know the moment, or
Of like what
ability
to be
to
thankful for.
to
Yeah.
appreciate something, even if it doesn't turn out necessarily in the way that you wanted it to. Um, but acknowledging, whether it's within, although externally is supportive of creating greater connection and um, building up other people. So I encourage you to express it verbally or out loud to the other people, but so we recognize and then we acknowledge it and then we are in that space. So gratitude is not just an expression, but it's actually an experience. It's gosh, when I focus in on being thankful for something, I feel like my heart is getting bigger and full. Like there's this sense of fullness and just connecting with happiness and joy in that moment. So um, what are some ways that you work to bring more gratitude into your life, Shira?
Well, I mean, for me, it's been a bit of a journey to even put, and I guess maybe this is why this is one of the stages, but to even have acknowledgement towards the things that I needed to be grateful for or
Mhm,
that I now perceive as something to be grateful for, right?
mhm,
Um I go through moments where I'll be kind of in a funk and then I wake up the next day and I'll get out of my bedroom and I'll go and I have this practice of where I open all the windows or all the blinds in the house in the mornings. And when I do that, I have these small bits of time where I'm just like, wow, it's even if it's raining or even if it's sunny, it's like, oh, this is so amazing. Like I worked hard to get to where I'm at. I'm so grateful for what I have. And then sometimes I'm also feeling that maybe that gratitude is towards just the material things.
mhm.
And so starting to find more appreciation for things that are not just the material. I'm grateful that I'm aware. I'm more aware.
Mhm.
I'm grateful that the hardest of times in my life has brought me to where I'm at today and has created these trainable moments for me or learning lessons for me.
Let's talk about that. When we are in tough spots or in patterns that may not be in alignment with our greatest and highest good anymore, but we haven't been able to transition to something that is more in alignment with us. So when we are in these maybe lower vibrations or not so excited about our lifetimes, how do we bring in that sense of gratitude?
Well, I mean, for me, it's the taking a step back and having time to myself to acknowledge that and be appreciative of that.
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
guess that's another word that's in the three stages of
Yeah.
gratitude. Darn you, Google. So
I know for me, a lot of it is trying to like if I'm in a space or experiencing something that is less than joyful or exciting, then trying to find that silver lining, no matter how thin it is, and really focusing on the lessons that I learn or what I am receiving in these moments that may not be joyful or exciting. So I don't have a good example coming off the top of my head right now, but say like in our day to day, like we're working hard and we're feeling the strain of, our 9 to 5 or our 8 to 11, whatever your work schedule is like. I hope it's not that long. There's some self care needed if there
yeah.
is. But seeing that, maybe focusing on the lesson of learning how to work diligently or set boundaries so that you are able to take care of yourself in those strained times. So you may not be enjoying the working part of it, but in the long run, the lessons that you are learning from these experiences are going to help lift you up. And so recognizing those um, silver linings and
Yeah.
calling attention to them. And the more that we, work on trying to focus on those silver linings and find the point of gratitude for an experience. When we practice this, we are creating new neural connections and helping ourselves to align with thinking in that way versus thinking and focusing on the negative. So when we practice, right, that's repetition, right, is how we learn a lot of times. So if we are unconsciously moving throughout our day, then we can more easily, this is just a general pattern, this isn't for everybody, but more often than not, we tend to focus on the stressor or the negative emotion and what we don't want to experience. And so the more that we focus on those things, the more we're going to bring that into our awareness. So, on the flip side, when we focus on the gratitude portion, when we focus on finding anything positive about a situation, the more we are connecting with creating and bringing in more opportunities for gratitude and joy.
And gratitude is also known to be one of the highest vibrational states.
Hmm.
And we talk a bit about vibrational states, and I know that that's tended to be connected to a more
Taboo.
woo woo, I guess,
Yeah.
like yeah, and but it's a thing, right? Like we and go back and take a listen to our one
Hmm.
of our previous episodes regarding the
Yeah.
spiritual and
So,
science correlations. But
So basically, everything is, even down to the smallest atom or molecule, everything is vibrating. And what makes it solid is that, intensity of the vibration and the gravitational pull. So these desks that we're working on are vibrating. We just may not be aware of that vibration.
yeah,
So, sorry, go ahead.
no, that's cool. And so this is kind of also one of those moments where when somebody asks me when we're practicing meditation or the quote unquote raise your vibration,
Hmm.
um, or you're trying to connect with your guides who are usually on a much higher vibrational plane of
Hmm.
existence, right? Um, this is a way to also raise yourself to kind of meet them a bit halfway to where you can receive that information a little bit easier. Um, and there has been conversations around I can't find anything to be grateful for. Like I'm so stuck in my perception of everything going
Hmm.
wrong in my life that I just don't have the awareness to say I'm grateful or feel grateful for anything. So what would you say to those that have those? I mean, I have some ideas in my head, but
Yeah.
what would you say to those that are having a hard time finding something to be grateful for?
Well, first off, it doesn't have to be anything profound, right?
Right.
It can be something
Exactly.
simple like I have food to eat, or I have shelter, or I'm breathing in this moment. It doesn't have to be anything profound.
Right. Um, I've also used moments in my life where, you know, maybe I thought, somewhere that I didn't have anything to be grateful for. And so when I started having those types of moments, I actually started being grateful for my higher self, my mount class, you know. So even though,
Mhm.
and this
Mhm.
is something that I constantly do just because they're there as your team to support you and love you no matter what. And even though you can't physically experience them, some people can actually see them and experience them, but you can be grateful for them and maybe start with that. If you literally just cannot find a single thing that you can
Mhm.
grasp, to be grateful for, start with that gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're always there. They never go away. So,
And I think, like you said earlier, taking a step back. So, giving an opportunity to shift perspectives.
mhm,
So, zooming out and being able to see a little bit more objectively the situation. So, you can look at it from different sides and see, if there's any other ways that it's supporting you in moving forward in creating your best life.
yeah.
And so back to the vibration thing, I did want to mention that words also have a vibration, which is why it's so important that we express our appreciation and our gratitude, because these words, like you said earlier, raise our own vibration and the others around us. So I mentioned in um, the episode 21, the is it science or spiritual? um, about Dr. Emoto and his water experiments, and basically wrote a bunch of different words on different beakers of water, words in all different languages with all different vibrations, meaning higher and lower, positive and negative words. And when he froze the beakers of water, they froze differently. So the positive words had more symmetrical, beautiful, like looks kind of like snowflakes, or perfect spider webs. I know you don't like spiders, but and then the negative vibrations were, or negative words, froze into more chaotic and erratic, like spiders on drugs.
Like
It,
totally
if you
discombobulated
Yeah,
type
yeah, just
images,
all over
right?
the place. And so this is actually impacting you at your cellular level because you are 60+% water. So what you are saying, thinking, intending, is impacting you at a cellular level. And then let's take that one step further. And how is that impacting our food? So when when animals are farmed and for food, how are they being treated? This touches, yes, on the farm raised thought process and sustainability, but in
That stuff
reality,
tastes different too.
it does.
Yeah.
When an animal is stressed out, they're going to have different kinds of hormones, and those hormones are going to impact you when you eat them. Um, so when we express gratitude and appreciation for the food that we're preparing, so in those moments, check yourself: are you in a good mental space or not? Because that energy is going into your food and you are going to consume that into your body. So I encourage you to even take a moment when you sit down, almost like a prayer or a quick little meditation, incantation, whatever you want to call it, and express gratitude. Thank you so much that I have this food on my plate, and I appreciate the food for what it's going to do to support my highest and greatest good in this moment.
I was just having this thought of like, how there's most families, I don't even know if you want to go with most, but whatever. Some families that practice prayer before meals.
Hmm.
And it
Hmm.
kind of makes you wonder, like, if that was the intention prior to, the mealtime in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm having this like visualization of like very, very ancient civilizations that brought this into their awareness and started practicing this, and this led down to this path of, you know it being part of a more religious front, but
Yeah.
I it just grew into something like that, or maybe it was misinterpreted into something to be only that. But I
Mhm.
think that's
Mhm.
pretty cool because I was just while you were talking, one of the things that I've seen individuals do, and I do this myself. We have one of those Brita filters that we
Mhm.
use for drinking
Mhm.
water, and I'll sometimes just go and put a sticky note on it and it'll say
Yeah.
love on that. So right now I have my
Oh,
coffee,
I
which is
love
mostly
that.
water. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'll just stick and I'll just put love and then I'll put grateful, appreciation, or appreciative, and I'll
Mhm.
just stick it to my drink. And it's the intention and the thought,
Mhm.
even if I don't say the words out loud, the intentions and the thought actually do still course correlate with that.
And even just, thinking, because I did this with my coach a couple weeks back, where she was like, when was the last time, how are you doing on drinking water? And I was just not hydrating well. And she was like, okay, your goal is to connect better with your sense of gratitude and also maintain your hydration. So every time you drink a sip of water, in your head or out, well, not while you're drinking out loud.
That'd be
It'll get all over the place.
I'd like to see this. Just want to be a witness.
But actually, expressing that gratitude for, just the water, and it can be like, oh, thank you, water, for being so hydrating. And it
Yeah.
just gives us this different feeling, and it just, brings a sense of joy and awareness even to yourself and in that present moment. So it's almost, it's touching on grounding as well. So taking yourself out of, stressful thought processes and just bringing yourself back into this moment too.
You can also do something as simple as, oh my gosh, remember when we were talking on the Unfiltered Experience live back on the 22nd? Please go listen. When we were talking on that, Scott mentioned this study that they did at this school that he visited, where they took plants and they had
Mhm.
like they
Mhm.
leave them overnight, right? Or something to that nature where they leave them overnight, and one of them was always next to like very loving, happy, playful music, things like that, and then the other one was like very violent and like hardcore stuff. And the difference in how the plants grew in this study that they did was just drastically different. One was just lush and green and super, super tall, and the other one was like barely, coming out of its pot. So,
And so you can do this at home, just, grabbing two different plants, like baby plants. And I think it was in one of his kids' schools, and they
mm,
were even encouraged to like vent at one and then express appreciation to another. So you can do that in your own home as an experiment, just to prove to yourself if you really want to. And, poor plant, but
yeah, I
if
was
it's
gonna
going to
say, I
get
was like, oh,
if it's going to motivate you to work on your life and bring your awareness to positivity and gratitude, then by all means, let's do it.
yeah. And sometimes that validation, maybe it's needed that to understand that these things do work,
Yeah.
and it is science. um but at the end of the day, I mean, this is something that we are grateful to be experiencing
Hmm.
and learning together. And if you need that type of appreciation
Hmm.
by your experience, then in order to understand it more, I mean, go for it. I mean, I'm a little sad for that plan, but yeah.
I
So
mean, all in the name of, love. So,
yeah.
again, I think it's a really wonderful practice to get in the habit of, to, start expressing gratitude, and it really does improve your own energy in your home. It improves, the relationships that we have outside of ourselves, and even relationships with ourselves. So I don't think that there's any I don't know if there's any wrong way to express gratitude, right? As long as you're expressing it. But we are here to learn lessons in this life experience. So those lessons, they're hard. Sometimes they suck. Sometimes it takes forever. But finding the appreciation for the light at the end of the tunnel and what all that we've gained from this experience, how we are elevated because of it, and, just the experience of expansion of love. That's all gratitude is. It's expansion of love.
That's beautifully said. Aw, I like that.
Well, listeners, we are so grateful for you guys, and we have just been in awe by the support, by continued return of listeners and viewers. And so we're so excited just to still be here, and we can't wait to continue this journey. And again, if you haven't checked us out on lovealwaysself.com, please do so today. And there is some pretty cool swag on there, some hoodies and beanies and baseball caps and whatnot, and of course t-shirts.
And
But
baby onesies.
yes, there are onesies. So if you want any Love Always Self swag, please check us out again at lovealwaysself.com.
Thank you so much, everyone. We hope you have a blessed and beautiful and grateful rest of your week.
And don't forget to love first
Love last.
and love always.
Nailed it. Bye, everybody.
Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista.
And I'm Shyra.
And until next time, remember to love first,
Love last,
and love always. Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you choose to take upon the information in this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from the information discussed in this podcast.